This course is a companion to the book The Project Brain: Evolving Project Managers, available on Amazon. If you find today's session valuable, the book goes deeper on every framework you are about to learn, including the 3-tier document system, the janitor protocol, synthetic stakeholder simulations, and the full blueprint for an artificial intelligence-powered project management office you can run from your own desktop. You can find it by searching for The Project Brain by Self-Made PM on Amazon, or by visiting selfmadepm.com. Now let us begin the course. 1. Welcome to this 3-hour professional development session on artificial intelligence fluency. Over the next 3 hours, you will move from casual user to calibrated practitioner with a clear mental model of what these tools do, which tasks they excel at, and how to integrate them into your week without over-relying on them. This course is eligible for 3 self-reported professional development units with the Project Management Institute under the online or digital media category, and it maps to the ways of working edge of the Project Management Institute talent triangle. Let us begin. 2. By the end of this session, you will be able to do 3 things. First, you will be able to describe what large language models actually do, where their capabilities begin and end, and how to form accurate expectations of them. Second, you will be able to apply a calibrated trust spectrum, knowing when to accept output directly, when to verify it, and when to override it. Third, you will be able to build at least 2 repeatable workflows for your own recurring work, using structured prompts and appropriate model selection, and measure the resulting gains honestly. 3. Here is how we will spend our 3 hours together. Part 1 defines fluency and distinguishes it from casual use. Part 2 builds an accurate mental model of what artificial intelligence tools actually are. Part 3 introduces the trust spectrum and the discipline of calibration. Part 4 covers prompt engineering fundamentals, the foundation of every other skill. Part 5 addresses advanced techniques and model selection. Part 6 translates fluency into practical workflows across your week. Part 7 addresses safety, ethics, and the organizational dimension of artificial intelligence practice. At the end, I will walk you through exactly how to claim your professional development units. The word fluency is overused in technology marketing. Let us define it carefully so the rest of the course has a meaningful target. 5. There is a widening gap in the professional world, and it is not between those who use artificial intelligence and those who do not. It is between those who use these tools fluently and those who use them awkwardly. Awkward users type a question, get a mediocre answer, and conclude the technology is overhyped. Fluent users have entire workflows built around artificial intelligence collaboration, producing better work in less time while their peers still wrestle with the basics. The gap compounds quarter over quarter because fluent practitioners accumulate tuned prompts, refined personas, and shared templates that each new week builds on. 6. Fluency is not a technical skill in the programming sense. It is a communication skill. It is the ability to direct a capable but non-human collaborator with enough clarity that useful work comes back. Some of the most effective practitioners have never written a line of code. They simply understand how to structure a request, how to anchor context, and how to evaluate output honestly. If you have been put off by the perception that artificial intelligence is a technical field, release that perception now. The core skills are editorial, not engineering. 7. 3 levels are worth naming. Basic fluency is the ability to write effective prompts and integrate artificial intelligence into simple daily tasks, and it develops over 2 to 4 weeks of deliberate practice. Intermediate fluency includes model selection, advanced prompting techniques, and small workflow automations. It develops over 2 to 3 months. Expert fluency is where artificial intelligence integration becomes intuitive and strategic. It typically requires 6 months to a year of consistent use across varied tasks. Plot your current position honestly before you plot your destination. 8. Before you can become fluent, you need an accurate mental model of what these tools actually do. Misaligned expectations cause almost every frustration. 9. A large language model, which we will shorten to LLM, is a pattern matching engine trained on vast amounts of text. It predicts the most likely next token based on everything that came before. It does not think. It does not understand in the human sense. It does not reason the way a person reasons. It produces outputs that are remarkably useful when guided properly, and produces confidently wrong outputs when guided poorly. Holding this model in mind is protective. It keeps you from anthropomorphizing the tool, and it keeps you from dismissing the tool because it is not what you imagined. 10. L. MS excel at synthesis, reformatting, brainstorming, first drafts of written work, and transforming structured inputs into human-readable outputs. They excel when the space of good answers is large, and your ability to recognize a good one is high. They give you a second draft faster than you could produce a first draft. For project managers, that covers status reports, meeting summaries, communication drafts, risk narratives, and lessons learned synthesis. 11. L. M's struggle with novel reasoning, precise arithmetic, citation accuracy, and any task requiring current information they were not trained on. They struggle when a single correct answer exists and getting it wrong is costly. Numerical projections, legal citations, specific regulatory references, and facts about recent events all fall into this category. Knowing these boundaries prevents both underuse and over-reliance. 12. The failure mode people call hallucination is not a bug to be fixed. It is an emergent property of how the model works. The model is always producing the most plausible continuation of the text, whether or not that continuation is true. Your role is to treat every factual claim the model makes as a hypothesis to verify, not as a statement to trust. Practitioners who internalize this never get embarrassed by a fabricated citation because they verify before they ship. 13. New users tend to fall into 2 camps: those who trust output completely and those who trust it not at all. Both positions are wrong. Fluency requires a calibrated sense of when to trust, when to verify, and when to override. 14. Low trust tasks include anything involving specific facts, numbers, dates, citations, quotations, or recent events. Always verify these independently. A number the model produces with a confident tone is exactly as likely to be wrong as a number it hedges on. Build the habit of checking every material figure against a primary source before it enters a stakeholder deliverable. The habit sounds tedious. It is not. A 30-second verification is cheaper than an embarrassing correction in front of your sponsor. 15. Medium trust tasks include structural suggestions, process improvements, communication drafts, and first passes at synthesis. The general approach the model suggests is often sound, but details need checking. Read for the shape of the work and then read again for the specifics. When you work with a medium trust draft, you are editing, not accepting. Plan your time accordingly. 16. High trust tasks include brainstorming, reformatting, summarization of documents you already provided, generating variations of your own content, and translating between tones or formats. These are cases where verification is either unnecessary or cheap because the source of truth came from you to begin with. High trust tasks are where you can move quickly and confidently. 17. Your calibration sharpens with experience and with feedback loops. Keep a small log for 2 weeks. Note each task you delegated to an LLM, what level of trust you applied, and whether the output held up. At the end of 2 weeks, read the log. You will catch systematic biases in your own trust assignments. Maybe you overtrust the model on numbers. Maybe you undertrust it on executive writing. Either pattern, once visible, corrects quickly. 18. The foundation of fluency is the ability to write prompts that produce useful output on the first attempt. Most people dramatically underspecify their requests and then blame the tool. 19. A good prompt includes 5 elements: role assignment, specific context, clear deliverable specification, format requirements, and constraints. Miss any element and the output quality drops. Instead of asking for help with a project plan, specify that you need a phased implementation plan for migrating a legacy customer relationship management system with 3 phases spanning 6 months, resource requirements for a team of 8, risk mitigation for data loss during migration, formatted as a table with phase, duration, resources, and risks as columns. The difference in quality between that prompt and help with a plan is enormous. It is the difference between the tool being a distraction and the tool being useful. 20. Role assignment sets the voice and expertise you want the model to draw on. You are a senior program manager. You are an experienced technical writer. You are a regulatory compliance specialist. Each choice activates a different set of patterns. Pick the one that matches the deliverable you need, not the one closest to your own role. 21. Specific context turns a generic request into a relevant one. Your industry, your organizational culture, your project stage, your audience's priorities. A context block of 5 dense sentences is usually the sweet spot. Longer and the model loses focus. Shorter and the output misreads your situation. 22. Deliverable specification names the exact artifact you want. A 1-page executive summary, a 12-row risk register, a stakeholder communication of no more than 300 words. Vagueness here produces sprawl. Precision here produces something you can actually use. 23. Format and constraints set the shape. Tone, length, structure, forbidden phrases, required sections. A constraint that says no hedging language will produce a meaningfully different output from the same request without that constraint. Constraints are the editorial standards you would give a junior writer, now written down. 24. Once you have mastered the basics, the next level of fluency is about knowing which tool to reach for. 25. Different models have different strengths. Claude excels at nuanced writing, following detailed instructions and maintaining long context. Generative pre-trained transformer models, often shortened to GPT, offer strong general performance and broad integrations. Specialized models handle code generation, image creation, and data analysis better than general models. A fluent user does not have one favorite model. They have a toolkit and the judgment to select the right tool for each job. Maintain a short list of the tasks you do most often and the model you reach for on each. 26. Chain of thought prompting asks the model to show its reasoning before it gives an answer. This is useful for multi-step problems where the path to the answer matters as much as the answer itself. For a risk analysis or a root cause investigation, chain of thought produces better output than a direct answer request because it forces the model to make its reasoning visible and therefore checkable. 27. Few-shot learning means giving the model 2 or 3 concrete examples of the kind of output you want before asking it to produce a new one. This is the single most underused technique. Instead of describing the style you want, show it. 3 examples usually outperform a paragraph of description. 28. Retrieval Augmented Generation, abbreviated RAG, is the practice of giving the model access to your own documents at query time. Instead of relying on the model's general training, you let it reason over your specific content. For project managers with a large body of prior project documentation, RAG-style workflows produce dramatically more relevant output than generic prompting. You do not need to build a RAG system yourself. Several consumer tools now offer document upload features that approximate the behavior. 29. Fluency only matters if it translates into tangible improvements in your daily work. Let us get specific about where to apply it. 30. Audit your weekly tasks and identify the ones that consume the most time relative to the value they produce. Status reports, meeting summaries, email drafting, research synthesis. These are common candidates. Pick the top 3. For each, build a repeatable workflow. Define the input format. Define the prompt structure. Define the expected output. Run it for 2 weeks and compare to your manual process. Adjust. Keep what works. 31. Set realistic expectations. Artificial intelligence will not make everything 10 times faster overnight. Most practitioners who measure honestly find a 30 to 50% time reduction on the tasks they automate well, plus a noticeable quality improvement because drafts are no longer written under fatigue. That is a meaningful gain, not a miracle. It becomes transformative because it compounds across 50 weeks of the year. 32. Not every task belongs in your workflow. Some tasks are too low volume to justify prompt engineering. Others are too high stakes to automate at your current skill level. Others are better solved by a purpose-built tool than by a general model. A fluent user knows which tasks to build for, which to buy a tool for, and which to leave alone. Resist the temptation to automate everything. Automate what pays. 33. Once you are fluent, the next question is how to bring your team along. The answer is not a training session. The answer is a shared prompt library and a weekly show and tell where practitioners demonstrate what worked. Fluency is contagious when it is visible. Fluency is isolating when people hoard their prompts. 34. Fluency includes understanding the ethical dimensions of these tools. This section is not optional for professional practice. 35. What data should never be uploaded to artificial intelligence platforms? Client personally identifiable information, protected health information, trade secrets, classified material, Customer contract terms under confidentiality agreements. When in doubt, assume anything regulated or sensitive should be anonymized or generalized before it enters a prompt. Paid tiers offer stronger data handling commitments than free tiers, and you should know which tier your organization has licensed before you rely on any vendor assurance. 36. When is it appropriate to use artificial intelligence generated content without disclosure? The emerging norm is that anything artificial intelligence drafted should be reviewed, edited, and owned by a human before it goes out under that human's name. For internal artifacts like first drafts, disclosure is usually unnecessary. For deliverables attributed to you, you should be prepared to defend every claim as your own work because that is the professional standard. Artificial intelligence is a drafting partner, not a ghostwriter of record. 37. Artificial intelligence outputs can perpetuate bias in hiring, evaluation, and decision-making if you let them. A model trained on historical data reflects historical patterns, including patterns you would not endorse. When you use artificial intelligence in any people-adjacent process, you need a human review step that specifically checks for biased language and biased assumptions. The check is cheap. The cost of skipping it is not. 38. At the organizational level, fluency means developing governance frameworks and acceptable use policies that enable innovation while managing risk. The two common failure modes are too restrictive, which drives practice underground and loses the learning, and too permissive, which invites the incident that triggers a full ban. The right policy names the categories of data that can and cannot be used, names the approved vendors, requires disclosure for external deliverables, and provides a clear path for new use cases to be evaluated. 39. Let us recap. You can now describe what large language models actually do, where they excel, and where they struggle. You can apply the trust spectrum, deciding when to trust output directly, when to verify, and when to override, and you have a method for calibrating that judgment over time. And you can build repeatable workflows using structured prompts, appropriate model selection, and clear measurement, while respecting data privacy, transparency, and fairness. Your next step is to audit your week, pick 3 candidate tasks, and build the first workflow in the next 7 days. 40. To claim your 3 professional development units, log into your Project Management Institute dashboard at the Continuing Certification Requirements System, which is abbreviated CCRS. Select Report Professional Development Units. Choose the category labeled Online or Digital Media. Enter the course title exactly as shown on your certificate, which is What is Artificial Intelligence Fluency? Enter the date you completed the course. Enter the provider name as Self-Made PM. Enter the Professional Development Unit value of 3 allocated to the Ways of Working area of the talent triangle. Retain your certificate of completion in case of an audit. Self-Made PM is not a Project Management Institute authorized training partner, and professional development units on this platform are self-reported. Thank you for spending these 3 hours with me. I will see you in the next course. 41. Thank you for completing this course. If the ideas in this session spark something for you, the next step is the book. The Project Brain, Evolving Project Managers is available now on Amazon and goes far beyond what we could cover in this session. It contains the complete system for building, maintaining, and scaling an artificial intelligence-powered project management office, the full janitor protocol with templates, deeper stakeholder simulation patterns, and real-world case studies from practitioners who have saved 10 to 15 hours per week using these methods. You can find more free courses, tools, and articles at selfmadepm.com. Again, thank you for your time, and remember to log your professional development units. I will see you in the next course. 42.